Hi everyone. My name is Elise Bernard and I was raised to believe in happy endings. As a wedding planner in Paris, I had seen so many beautiful couples exchange vows, pledging forever to each other. Love to me was not only real, but sacred. When I met Jules Laurent, I believed I'd found that forever in him. Jules was everything I wanted: sophisticated, driven, and compassionate. An architect who designed buildings across Europe, he had a way of talking about his work that made me fall for his mind as much as his heart. We shared a passion for art, travel, and a quiet understanding that felt like it came from another life. Our love grew fast, like a spark catching fire, and it wasn't long before we were talking about a life together, a family, a home. After a year together, he proposed to me on a cobblestone bridge under the lights of Paris. I said yes without hesitation, thinking this was the story I'd tell our children one day. Our wedding date was set, and in the months that followed, I threw myself into planning every detail, dreaming of the moment I would walk down the aisle to him. But sometimes, the people we trust most are the ones who hide the deepest secrets. It was 3 months before the wedding when I noticed a change in Jules. At first, it was small. He'd come home later, answer my questions with a distant smile, a vague response. I told myself it was stress. After all, his architecture firm had taken on a huge project. He'd always been dedicated to his work, and I wanted to support him. But over time, the distance grew. He'd spend weekends working, telling me he was on site or at the office, yet he'd come back with the scent of a different cologne, an expensive spiced fragrance I didn't wear. He began receiving late-night messages, his phone lighting up beside him as he brushed it off, saying it was work stuff. He seemed to guard his phone more, holding it close, even sleeping with it under his pillow. I wanted to trust him. Jules had never given me a reason to doubt him before. But one evening, as he left for a supposed meeting, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He kissed my forehead, smiled, and told me he loved me before walking out. I watched him leave, wondering if I would ever feel the same trust again. The next day, my doubt gnawed at me, refusing to be silenced. I found myself scrolling through our texts, noticing patterns, dates he'd disappeared, messages he'd responded to later, vague excuses. Finally, I told myself that if he was hiding nothing, I'd find nothing. I didn't have to wait long. That night, while he was in the shower, I saw a notification light up on his phone screen. The message preview read, "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was unforgettable." It was from someone named Elle. My hands went cold, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I felt like a stranger in my own life, as if I were reading someone else's story, one that was unfolding to reveal heartbreak and lies. My love, my future husband, was betraying me. For a moment, I thought of confronting him right there. But then I stopped myself. I wanted more than just a confrontation. I needed the full truth. Over the next few days, I gathered every bit of information I could, learning about the woman he was seeing, Lena, a colleague of his from Milan. The puzzle pieces fit together, confirming my worst fears. They had been seeing each other for months behind my back, even as we planned our wedding. But instead of breaking down, I became cold, calculating. If Jules was going to play me for a fool, I would make sure he faced the consequences in a way he'd never forget. I didn't cry. I didn't confront him. Instead, I planned. With each day, each interaction, I wore a mask of calm, acting like the devoted fiancé. I planned our wedding meticulously, down to every last detail, while secretly preparing for something much different than he expected. The wedding day approached, and I let Jules believe I was blissfully unaware. I wanted to give him the impression that his lies had worked, that I was as in love with him as ever. I wanted him to stand at the altar, look into my eyes, and realize the depth of the pain he'd caused, and know that he'd lose everything he'd taken for granted. The morning of our wedding was beautiful, bright, and crisp, with sunlight streaming through the windows. The church was filled with flowers and candles, and our closest family and friends were there, all waiting to see us promise our forever. I stood in my gown, heart pounding, a surreal calm washing over me. When I walked down the aisle and saw Jules waiting, he looked handsome, as always, with an expression of love and pride. Part of me wanted to believe it, to let myself fall back into the dream I'd clung to for so long. But the memory of Lena's messages, of every lie he'd told, strengthened my resolve. As we dive deeper into the twists of this story, I'd love for you to join our storytelling family here at Lauren's Story. If you're captivated so far, why not take a second to tap that subscribe button? Each new story brings you a front row seat to unforgettable journeys, ones that just might resonate with your own. Let's continue and see how this story unfolds. As I reached the altar, Jules took my hand, giving me a smile that would have once melted me. He recited his vows, filled with words of loyalty, love, and devotion. I listened, my heart breaking, even as I kept my expression steady. Then it was my turn. I took a deep breath, looking at him as I began my vows. But instead of the promises I'd written, I spoke the truth. "Jules," I said, my voice clear but filled with emotion. "I once believed that love was about trust, loyalty, and honesty. I thought our love was that kind of love." I saw his smile falter, confusion flickering across his face as he searched my eyes. "But love cannot grow in a garden of lies," I continued, my voice gaining strength. "It cannot thrive where there's betrayal. And today, instead of vowing to love you forever, I want to share with our family, our friends, who you truly are." The guests murmured, their eyes widening in shock, and Jules's face pale, his hand slipping from mine. "Because while I spent months planning this wedding, while I believed in you, in us, you were sharing moments with someone else, someone you called Elle, someone who texted you that last night was unforgettable." I reached into my bouquet, pulling out the printed messages, the proof of his betrayal. I held them up, and a collective gasp filled the church as people saw the truth laid bare. "Lena," I said, my voice steady, "the woman who shared your nights, your secrets, while I shared my heart with you." Jules stumbled back, his expression one of horror and guilt, as whispers rippled through the room. "Today, I stand here not to promise myself to you, but to reclaim myself from you," I said, meeting his eyes with a cold finality. "I loved you, Jules, but you chose lies over love. So today I am leaving you, and I am taking with me the life you would have ruined." I turned and walked back down the aisle, past friends and family, each one a witness to my heartbreak and my strength. I felt their hands reaching out, some to comfort, some in shock, but I kept walking. The doors of the church opened, and I stepped into the sunlight, feeling a profound weight lift from my shoulders. Jules didn't follow. He remained frozen, a broken man standing at the altar of his own destruction. I didn't need to look back. I knew that I had left behind the pain, the lies, and the betrayal. I had chosen myself. In the days that followed, Jules tried to contact me, sending messages filled with apologies, pleas, promises to change, but I was done. He had shattered the life we'd built, and no words could mend it. I blocked his number, cut him off from my life completely. Friends and family reached out, some in shock, others offering quiet support. The story spread through our social circles, the tale of the wedding that ended before it began, and the groom who lost everything in one night. Jules's reputation suffered, his career stunted by the scandal, as whispers of his betrayal haunted him. For me, it was a rebirth. I traveled, spent time rediscovering parts of myself I'd lost, surrounded myself with friends who reminded me of my strength. I felt a lightness I hadn't felt in years, a sense of clarity that only comes from facing heartbreak and emerging stronger. In time, I found peace, and with it, I found myself again. Reflecting on that day, I realized a powerful truth. Sometimes the bravest act of love is choosing yourself. I had once thought my love for Jules was my greatest strength, but in the end, it was my love for myself that set me free. Betrayal had tried to break me, but it had only shown me the strength to stand alone. And with that strength, I knew that I'd walked away from my wedding, but I'd walked toward a life of integrity, dignity, and self-worth, something far more lasting than any vow spoken in lies. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the complexities of human relationships. If this story resonated with you and sparked emotions you can relate to, I invite you to subscribe to Lost Love Mystery. Your support not only helps us grow, but also allows us to continue bringing you captivating tales of betrayal, revenge, and resilience. Share this story with someone who might need it, and remember to like this video if you enjoyed it. Together, Let's keep exploring the powerful narratives that connect us all.